Hey guys, Cal97 again. This time with a review of the 1/100 scale mechanical hand from Hobby Base's premium parts collection. And I can already foresee the one question everyone is going to be asking me. Will these work with my specific figure? Well, to answer that, we go to the back of the cardboard and here we have the length of the pegs we get with the hands. Now we get two types. We have the normal type, which is 5.5 millimeters long, and then the long type, which is 7.5 millimeters long. Then both of them have a ball joint with a diameter of 4 millimeters. 4 millimeters, by the way, just so happens to be the standard size of a Bandai Master Grade. I know, a wild coincidence. Oh, by the way, did I mention the color of these? It's gun G Gray, with the G absolutely not standing for Gundam. It stands for G. What a coincidence! Am I right, guys? Because this gray also just so happens to be the exact same gray that you get with most Master Grades. Alright, moving on. What do we actually get with this set? Well, we get two pairs of hands, one superposable pair and one fixed post fist hand. And let's start off with those because they are unfortunately the most disappointing part of this set for obvious reasons. Now you can customize them slightly. We have two options for the thumb. You can have it more fist-like, which looks really off. And then you can also have it to the side, which looks slightly less off. Also, it's pegged in there on a round peg, so if you want to, you can move it around if you so desire. Once again, this does not look particularly natural, but yeah, you get the fists. There is some movement on there. These pegs will go up and down very nicely. And finally, we also get an option to use a flat top rather than the beam gun, which is on top. And yes, that is exactly what the manual calls it. These hands have beam guns on them. As cool as the beam guns are, I cannot help but feel that these hands were very much an afterthought for this set and just kind of an excuse to get you to buy more and also pay more. Because now, let's move on to the real reason you're going to be buying this. The super movable hands, and my god, are these things amazing. Now, just as with the closed fist hands, you get two types of hand covers. You have either the slightly angled ones or the more rounded ones. And then you also have a choice of the short peg, which is what you're going to be using for the Master Grades, for most of them at least, or the long peg. Now, I didn't show them for the closed fist hands, but you also get a pair of long pegs for the closed fist hands. For the articulation, these things are perfect. Of course, we have this that also goes really far up and down, all the way it wanted to. And then the thumb, all the little parts can bend. They're all on little hinges. Then at the bottom, it's on a ball joint. Then these fingers are on a hinge to go left and right. So you can spread them, do some more intricate posings. And then, of course, every little section of the finger is on it's on its own hinge. So these hands can pretty much do whatever you want them to do. They are great to play around with. And they also feel really solid as far as 1/100 scale hands go. One funny thing is that they are actually in two colors. You can see the middle part is slightly lighter gray than the rest of the hand or the fingers. But of course, one important question is remaining. How good are these hands at holding things? And I'm happy to report that these hands do a phenomenal job. Up until like the medium-sized weapons. The ones I tested, the sniper rifle and the bazooka, they work great. No issues whatsoever. And definitely when we have a look at that bazooka from the RX-782 version Katoki, these hands hold on to that bazooka significantly better than the hands that were included. And also, of course, if you want some smaller weapons like the beam rifle or a machine gun, these hands work wonders. It wasn't until I brought in the real big guns, like the Zeta Gundam's Hyper Mega Launcher, which the original 1.0 wasn't able to hold on to, that these hands begin running into trouble because, well, they are hyper articulated, so they do come with their own drawbacks. Also, not having any kinds of pegs onto them because, well, they're not officially bandai, so they're not going to come with those. Also make it so that bigger weapons are going to be a slightly bigger problem. But if you want these hands for these styles of weapons, they're great. They're more than great. As always, the inevitable question is, do you want to buy this? Well, I have two very simple questions to answer that. One, do you have a master grade that doesn't come with movable hands? You know, the one thing every master grade should come with, along with a full inner frame, at least nowadays. If so, then yes, this is an absolute must-buy. The second question is, do you have a master grade with hands that are in desperate need of a hand transplant, like mainly the older ones? Then the answer is, once again, a total yes. Now, in the grand scheme of things, 1,000 yen might be slightly expensive. Also, an unfortunate fact because, well, we get these extra hands that could have been excluded for a slightly lower price, but still, these movable hands are great, and in my opinion, they do everything I wanted them to do. So, as far as hand transplant sets go, I can hardly think of any that would be better than this. Granted, this is so far the only one I've bought with movable fingers on them, but honestly, I'm in no hurry to try anything else because this set just does everything I want it to, and it does it great. They look great, they hold on to the weapons great. Sure, they run into some trouble with the bigger weapons, but I really don't think it's realistic to expect in 100 scale that you have complete movable fingers and somehow have them sturdy enough to hold on to something this giant while at the same time still be movable enough to not snap them while trying to have them hold on to said giant weapon. I mean, there is super glue for a reason. So, man, these hands do such a great job. I can definitely recommend you to go out and buy them right away. Just remember that if you're buying these for a Gundam, G gray. The G does not stand for Gundam. So please, don't sue Hobby Base. So for size comparisons, here it is from left to right next to the Jim Kai's hand, which is the typical hand that we've gotten with many master grades until the 2.0s happened, which is represented here by the Gundam Mark II Titans version 2.0. Great hands. That's when I started doing pegs on the master grades. They work brilliantly, just not quite as movable as our hand on the right. And then the third one in the row is the mighty Nightingale's hand. And man, is that one hell of a hand. It's slightly fragile with the peg and lots of movable parts, but the one thing you're probably wondering about, how is the overall strength of the Nightingale's hand compared to, well, our Hobby Base hand? And all I can say is Bandai quality, because the Nightingale's hand is definitely better at holding on to bigger weapons. Fortunately, because the Nightingale does have quite a massive weapon of itself, so that would have been very unfortunate for the Nightingale. So that is still definitely the better hand. Unfortunately, Bandai themselves do not offer the Nightingale's hand, or well, that Master Grade hand, as a separate purchase, which they really should consider doing. But until the time they decide to do that, there's always the mighty Hobby Base hand. And well, that's all for this review, and see you all next time.